Hey everybody, this is my 40-gallon Waterfall tank. And the other day I went out in the yard, I cut some flowers and brought them in just to cheery the place up a little bit, springtimey it up a little bit. But today I am sort of hankering to kind of supercharge this with some plants or get it going again. The idea that I was originally thinking about was I was just going to kind of let this one ride until the weather got nicer and I could work outside a little more, and I was going to try to build something a little more elaborate with fiberglass and epoxy resin, or something. But under the circumstances, I'm not going to be, planning any large projects or anything like that coming up at any time in the near future, so we're going to be making do with this one. I might get up there in the top. You can see I've got, just plastic trash bags used as liners. Underneath of that, I did put a couple of tubes of silicone, so I should have reinforced where it was leaking. That, it was definitely leaking in that basin right there at the top. And we've not leaked a drop since I fixed it. So I don't know if I could remove all those trash bags and it would look better, or if for safety's sakes I prefer to just leave it there. And as far as I'm concerned, I'll just leave it there. It doesn't look that terrible to me. I don't pay too much attention to the upper portion of this anyway. I'm usually generally kind of looking down here at what's going on. This just sort of gives my eye something to notice. There's some movement and sparkle and twinkle up there with the water movement, but down here is where I pay most of my attention. So right now we've got lots of plants going on around it. I've got my geraniums and begonias, and again I can cut flowers out in the yard and that sort of thing. We've got water sprite. This is all water sprite down here. This is water sprite. You can even see there's some water sprite up there. This is an arrowhead plant that at some point will eventually make its way down here, but that's a very low light plant. And since it's getting so much light, it's just growing compact. It's not stretching out and running. I guess I could turn the light off that I've got shining directly on it, so maybe that'll help. But I don't like the way it looks without that on. That really does change the feel of the whole thing. So anyway, we've got some dead nettles over here, and they're doing pretty good. I planted these from out in the yard over the winter. I found some and brought them in, and they took. And you can see they're growing up, and they're starting to curl, so I'll get something going on with that. But I think today what I want to do is go out in the yard and find something I can put in here. And right now we've got a temple plant that is doing well. It took a bit of a shock. I cut that from my gourami tank, so that was actually submerged. And it went from being submerged in a reasonable amount of light, and then bang, I put it right out in the open air under, my huge bright LED right there. So it took a shock, but it's recovered, and it's starting to grow, and it's starting to put up new growth and new leaves and stuff. So that should be interesting to let a temple plant grow in this environment. We'll see how big that thing gets. You can see I've got some starting to come up out of my 40 breeder over there. They can be very substantial plants once they get rooted in and growing. So I think what we're going to do is go out in the yard and probably just get some daylily like I did before. Just grab a few rhizomes. I can stick them right there in the back, and then they'll come up and out, and it'll just give us this huge amount of green growth, and you won't really even notice that there's not a lot more going on there. It'll just be a lot of texture and a lot of interest, and it'll be something. It'll be something to get going on with and getting started with. So I guess, well, I'll bring you all with me. Let's go out in the yard and have a little walk around. Sit tight, and I'll see you outside. Alright everybody, here we are out in the yard. We're not going to really make a yard tour out of this. The yard still looks disastrous. We haven't even really gotten out here and done anything from over the winter. And in fact, we've got a bunch of junk lying around that we've got sort of teed up to make its way out to the trash and never has, and so on and so forth. So we'll get to some yard tours here once the yard gets looking a little more worthy of a tour. So over here, just got a bunch of daffodils and stuff. I can't think of anything that would be good for putting in the basement. Oh, you know what? We can maybe do some bleeding heart. This stuff grows really fast and vigorous, and I got tons and tons of this. It grows everywhere, And these little plants here, something that size, for example, this will be yay tall, and it'll be fairly substantial. And we've already got flowers going. I don't know if you're familiar with what a bleeding heart looks like, but these are pink with the white drop on the bottom, and then we have some that are all white. So maybe I will do that. Maybe I can dig up a little bit of bleeding heart and stick it in there. I don't know how well that would do in a marginal, like a wet area. So maybe we will, well, whatever, we'll think about that. I can do something with that, I think. So that's something. And over here, I've got so many daylilies. We can just go anywhere and just dig up some daylilies. So that'll be easy enough to do. Again, with the daylilies, I can just dig up a clump or two like that and stick them down in there, and that'll, as that grows in and fills in, that'll be more foliage than you might expect. We could possibly get some sedum. Looks like my sedum is coming up here. We've got a bunch of this. So that's something I might be able to work with or do something with. And we've got that trailing euonymus over there. I've had that inside before. I'm not too fond of that, so I don't think we're gonna mess around with any of that. So let's have a quick walk. We're gonna go all the way on the other side of the yard, so sit tight and I will see you over there. Alright everybody, my neighbors were out when I got over to the other side of the yard, so I didn't get any video while I was over there, but I didn't collect any plants while I was over there either, so it doesn't really matter. I want to take a look at what I did get, what I brought in before I start planting it up. So first I got a fairly significant clump of daylilies. And these we can actually probably plant, because these are just going to more or less, that's certainly not in any way how they're going to stay, but that's where they're going to go once I get them in situ. So we can leave them right there for the time being. I got a bunch of stone crop. This is a succulent. This will do well whether it dries out or if it's in fairly moist conditions. This will still do okay. I also got a columbine. Gonna have to figure out exactly what to do with this one and how to get that one planted, but a columbine is going to look pretty. And again, I don't even really have any idea what color that is. And then the bleeding hearts I got came out in 2 chunks. So we're going to plant some bleeding hearts in there too. So I just wanted to show you what I got and what it looks like now. And we're going to get working on it, and in a few minutes we'll see what it looks like once it's all in situ. Alright, at a casual glance, the first thing you'll notice is the muddied water. In fact, let me turn the light on and we'll see how muddy it really is. So all of that mud has come from that big wad of daylilies. I did move it. I picked that stick up. I put the daylilies in. I actually packed a few rocks around it because the water coming down the stick was actually taking the mud and just eroding it right away. And what we were going to wind up with in very short order was going to be just bare rhizomes sitting in water back there. And that probably would have worked as far as having them grow, but it would not have worked as far as having them stand up. So I've got several rocks piled all around them, and as they start to, spread their roots out a little bit, it is a rhizome type plant, so they're not exactly prolific rooters, but enough roots should spread around back there that it'll sort of grab a hold of some stuff and stabilize it a little bit as it grows. And if it does start to slump over or whatever, I can always add some rocks to kind of prop it up. So in addition to that, I did not really add a whole lot to the waterfall itself. I really just didn't have the room. I wanted to put some stuff over there, but what? I mean, there's just nothing I really could have put over there. I could have done some, I could have put some soil in there and then planted some stuff, but that wouldn't have really worked. I needed a little more substantial stuff than that. I planned on putting the columbine over there, so I put it into one of these soft planters. And as small as that is, it's only a little 1-gallon planter. It's huge. You know, you put it in there and you basically got the plant, you know, already is touching the top of the thing. So if I would have tried to, you know, again, it didn't work. So what I wound up doing was just putting them in planters. I put a little piece of Lexan on the corner there, and that gives me something to sit the planters on. And then I took the bleeding hearts and I put them back here, so hopefully they'll stand right back up, and in a day or two they'll start looking bushy, and believe me, those are going to get huge. Fortunately, the bleeding hearts come and go pretty quickly. By June they'll be sort of yellowed and done, and I'll be able to just take them out of here. We'll get to see just sort of a pretty sort of slow motion fireworks display, and then it'll be over and they'll be gone. So the other thing I did was took my Rex begonia here and I had to rotate it. It was growing this way, and basically that was interfering with where I was trying to put all that. So you can see the bottom side of the Rex begonia is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful compared to the top side. Now, of course, the top side is pretty impressive too, don't get me wrong, especially when you can see the light coming from the back like that. It gives it almost a stained glass appearance. So that will sort of, you know, the leaves will at the very least roll this way, and now the top is going to start coming back around, and we'll see how that grows. Lastly, I will be over here in the not too distant future. You'll see I threw some of that stone crop in here and threw some of it in there, so we'll see what happens with that. I'm going to get in here and cut these, and that'll give us a little more visibility into the tank, and it'll sort of balance this out. This whole plant's growing this way too much, and again, if I let that get too dry, the weight will just pull it over, and in this case, that one will fall down into this tank down here. So I came down the other morning, and this planter, which is a hard side planter, this is a plastic planter, that was actually in my tank one day, and so I definitely have to make sure I keep them well watered so the weight keeps them balanced. What else did I do? I took my dead nettles up there, and these are called dead nettles because they are not the stinging variety. You can touch these without any issues or whatever, and that's why they're called dead nettles, if you were wondering what a weird name that is. One of the tendrils, or whatever you want to call it, that come down, branched and forked, and you know, basically the way they grow is they'll send a runner out, it sends down roots, and then it spreads out from there. So we've got the root, and then it's spread out. So I just sort of trailed that over, kind of tucked it down behind that rock, and now we're going to let that cascade down a little bit. So that'll give us a little bit more greenery in here as well. And then hopefully, another reason I didn't do anything back here is if these ever really do start taking off and growing, those are water sprite, and those things grow like mad. I've got those in my aquarium, and they just grow like crazy. You can see this one down here is starting to you know, bush out and grow, and so that'll probably be a nice big piece of greenery in there as well. So hopefully this will start to get a little more lush and green and look like it did last summer as we move on, you know, into the springtime now. And we'll worry about doing some stuff with that top area here in the near future. So thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. I hope you enjoyed that one. Don't forget, of course, this one is my waterfall tank. So thanks again, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.